A BBC investigation has found that so-called Islamic State was secretly directing would-be extremists to murder people at both London Bridge and Westminster nearly a year before each attack. Recruiters pointed our undercover reporters to terror manuals which showed how best to drive a car at crowds and attack victims with knives. The government says it's trying to suffocate IS's ability to recruit and radicalise people in the UK. Nick Beake has more.
Indiscriminate murder on the streets of London. Exactly the kind of attacks so-called Islamic State had been calling for. Our investigation reveals the group were not only inspiring such plots, but issuing directions to target both Westminster and London Bridge. Last summer, our undercover reporter made contact with IS recruiters active online. The authorities were fully aware of our communication. After inviting us to talk on a secret messaging site, IS agents pinpointed Westminster, promising if you succeed with an attack there, it would be huge and damaging.
He said that this was a very good target because it was crowded with disbelievers and civilians. He told me to just kill ordinary people and that it wouldn't require a very complicated plan.
With hindsight, the instructions look like a blueprint for the Westminster attack 8 months later. Khalid Massoud used a car to mow down pedestrians and then stabbed a policeman to death. In July 2016, we were also in conversation with another IS handler who had another target. London Bridge, he wrote. Use truck, axe, anything. We were directed to terrorist guides on the so-called dark web.
One of them showed how to use a vehicle to kill people. The other showed how to use knives and homemade bombs for maximum impact. There was a description of how to create a fake suicide vest and how it can be used to stop the police from attacking you if you are standing next to civilians.
The instructions bear all the hallmarks of the carnage nearly a year later at London Bridge. A van, knives, fake suicide belts and a stash of improvised bombs. Hanif Kadir, a former Al-Qaeda fighter now tackling radicalisation, is alarmed at how quickly encrypted communication can radicalise young Britons.
At that time in 2002, it still took me 6 to 7 months. If they'd have had this kind of technology, I would put my hand on my heart and I would say, guaranteed, within a few weeks, you could have somebody so enraged with revenge, that's how they see it, that they would become a suicide bomber or a terrorist.
The government has vowed to close down what it calls safe space, where terrorists can both plot and recruit.
I think the authorities have an unbelievably difficult task now. Encrypted apps or anonymous web browsers or the darknet, these places online that are very, very difficult to properly monitor, are proliferating very quickly.
And as their self-declared caliphate crumbles in the Middle East, IS are still making the most of secret communications, determined to inspire but also direct atrocities here in the UK. Nick Beake, BBC News.